Welcome everyone. This is Email Marketing Essentials, presented by Etna Interactive and sponsored by Analtus. And I want to thank Zubin Meskingpooch and Analtus for having us on this webinar. My name is Al Ferguson. I'm the Business Development Manager at Etna. Etna Interactive is a 12-year-old digital marketing agency that specializes in helping plastic surgeons, facial plastic surgeons, dermatologists, some ophthalmologists, and med spas with their online marketing. We're a full-service digital agency. Email marketing really is a great topic. We're really excited to talk about it because email marketing has kind of lost popularity. 10 years ago, it was the rage. Everyone was doing it. Everyone wanted to build their list and figure out how to email better, and it was very important in everyone's marketing list. And I want to challenge everyone listening now. Ask yourself, where does email marketing sit in my list of priorities now? And more importantly, should it be a part of my online priorities? And I'm going to make the case that it has. Now, it has fallen out of popularity really for two reasons. I think it's unfortunate, and we want to really make a case that there's a lot of value in email marketing. Now, the first reason that people have gotten down on email is that it's harder to get emails through, the deliverability, and people don't want email in their spam, right? So part of that's true. It's a little tougher now. Spam filters are better, and you have to be more careful in how you deliver emails. And we'll talk about that. But even more importantly, I think social media, with all its glitz and viral potential, it really became the sexy new marketing thing, and it has overpowered email, and everyone wants to get in on strong social media campaigns. So really a strong purpose in this webinar is to show you that there's great value, in fact, greater value in social media. And secondly, it really does belong as part of your marketing mix. So let's talk about social media a bit. This quote came from an actual Facebook sales deck. It was leaked internally. It was back September of 2013 or on about that time. We expect organic distribution of an individual page's posts to gradually decline. This actually came out just a few days before it was discovered that Facebook dramatically changed the way that they feed out your posts on your business page to the people that have liked you, to your fan base. And really, instead of just automatically posting whatever you post onto the wall of your fans, they stopped doing that unless you paid. So, with Twitter being so busy and YouTube with billions of videos, now you have to pay for your Facebook to feed information to the people that already liked your business. So really, if you think about it, this is just becoming a way of doing efficient campaigns to those people that already liked you and told them you can send them information. Does that sound like anything that you know? Like an email list that you already control? Well, the fact is right now that less than 2% of users who already liked your page will see your company's post in their newsfeed. So whatever your practice does on Facebook, even if you're really good at it, it's only going to be 3 or 4, maybe 5%. 5% max of the people who've already liked you are going to like or see what you post on your Facebook wall. So, that's not really very efficient. It's now Facebook, it's around about attracting fans and doing more efficient campaigns. So when you think about the fact that when we looked at medical practices, most practices have email lists that are 3 to 30 times larger than their social media fan base. That's a lot bigger. And you amplify that fact by that social media is now pay to play, and you own your list, we're starting to look at something that really could have some value. In fact, there's even more value when you think about the fact that the open rate for health and beauty emails in the industry is greater than 20%. So let's just say, for example, that you have 1,000 likes on Facebook and your email list is just 10 times that size, 10,000 people on your email list. So you already have a 10 times greater impact. But then when you think about the fact that Facebook is only getting to 2% of your fan base, and we're at 20% or greater for email open rates, you have another 10 times. That's 100 times more exposure with email marketing than Facebook. Now, that's about economy of scale. So we're really showing you that there's great value in the email list. The open rates are good. Let's talk about the money, because it really comes down to how profitable you can be with your email marketing campaigns. We're going to show you a few examples of our own clients here at Etna. This is Dr. Gustavo Galenti. He's up in the Illinois, a rural area in Illinois, and he's showing a 34% open rate and a 15-to-1 return on investment from a recent email marketing campaign. This next one is Dr. Freeman. Dr. Freeman had a 35% open rate. Dr. Freeman is in the Idaho Falls, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, so up there in the northwest. 7 confirmed procedures from this one mailing in June of 2014. And then the plastic surgery group in upstate New York, the Albany area, they had a 19-to-1 return on investment, and it really went pretty well on their social media. So you can see that the two forms go well together. Social media and email marketing can actually have great synergy. So if you compare these kinds of ROIs to maybe a 4 or 5, maybe 7-to-1 for social media, very strong case that there's a lot of value in email marketing, and that it is still the best way to reach your patients. So we're getting excited about that, but let's take a step back. There is some new regulation that we need to be aware of. Understanding CASL is super important. Now, CASL is the Canadian Anti-Spam Law. This is a new law, and it's different than the CAN-SPAM that was already in effect in the U.S. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, I'm not in Canada. Why do I have to worry about this? This law affects any business sending communication to Canada. So it is substantially different. It really has a lot more teeth. Again, it affects businesses that are sending to anyone in Canada. It really is trying to make spam less harmful and better, which we could argue is a very good thing. It is highly aggressive spam legislation, and it's likely to set a trend. We believe we will see more legislation like this in the U.S. and other countries as well. And there can be a pretty big penalty. The maximum penalty of $10 million per incident sounds pretty scary. Now, again, anyone sending messages to Canadians, well, it's very hard to tell if you have a Canadian in your email list or not, because they could be using Gmail or Hotmail or any other email service with an unknown differentiator, and you don't have their physical address. And especially if you're up north by the border, you are likely to have Canadians on your email address, or even in the south, southwest, Florida, where Canadians have winter homes, they get out away from the cold, very possible that you could have Canadians on your email list. So we really all need to be paying attention to the regulations here. There are 3 main pillars of CASL: consent, identification, making sure you identify yourself, and having good unsubscription. Okay, that doesn't sound so hard. I mean, you're probably saying, duh, that makes sense, and it does. So not only is this a law we have to pay attention to, but really there's a lot of best practices involved here. And if you're subject to HIPAA rules, then it's something you need to be paying attention to anyway. So let's talk about each of these. CASL says you have to obtain implied or express consent. We're going to say right now you should not even think about implied consent. Implied consent works if you're a retailer, you know, and you're selling something at the counter, and the checkout clerk says, oh, can I get your email address? It's really assumed that you're going to get information about the products you're buying and more specials or something like that. But it may not be so easy to imply that you're going to get unsolicited emails from the practice if they give their email address on, say, a patient information form or some other type of information form, unless there's an express box that says, yes, I want to get emails from the practice that they check. So you want to be careful here. And what we want to do is make sure that you confirm subscription. So there, you can double confirm. So if someone leaves their email address, they get on your list, the first thing they should get is an email asking them to click here to confirm that they indeed want to be on the list. Most major email platforms and email marketing services have this kind of functionality. And so you can send out this double confirm email address, and then you also have it documented. Very, very important. Keeping records so that you can prove that documentation. And again, make sure you have this true opt-in behavior. So you don't want to presume that kind of consent. So the second piece was identification. Make sure anything you're using to collect addresses, to build your list, any message that you send out is easy to see who is sending it. We're going to talk about this in more detail, but really you want to have your name, address, and phone number, an email, and the phone number that they can call in the footer of any kind of communication. So just making it super clear who you are. Not only is this following the rules, but it really is important. It helps to build trust with your email list. Make unsubscription easy is the third pillar of CASTLE. If you're in the U.S. and been doing email marketing, you're already probably doing this because of canned spam. But really, you want to make sure that you provide clear instructions and multiple paths. So that means you want to have a click here to unsubscribe, email us to unsubscribe, and here's a number to call. So you want to have all those in there, maybe even in 2 or 3 places, so it's absolutely easy, clear, and not hard to do. And then make sure that you do process unsubscriptions quickly. If it's a click here to unsubscribe, it might be automatic. But if you get an email or phone call, make sure you stay on that. All right? So CASTLE compliance is really best practices. So, I mean, all of those things kind of make sense, right? You want to be able to make sure people trust that they can unsubscribe, that they know who you are. And so those are email best practices anyway. So again, ensure all forms and email addresses satisfy express consent, identification, document that consent, consider reaffirming consent. And what we mean here is maybe even once a year, twice a year, you send out an extra email that says, you're on our list, you've been on the list for some time, we appreciate your getting information from us. Would you please click here if you would like to stay on our list? Just reconfirming. And then make sure that all your identification is easy to see and unsubscription is easy. So now let's move on, since we've covered all the regulation and we got excited about the profitability, about how to really succeed with email marketing. The first thing is you have to work on your lists. Many people start out with a list or strong collecting emails, and then it kind of fades out of their priorities, and they stop doing it. And they'll put the widget from MailChimp or Constant Contact on their website, and there'll be a place to click here. So the fact is you have to work at promoting your subscription online. So the standalone subscription forms, a little widget that you put on your website, they're really not used very much. So it's a best practice. You'll want to have it on the website, but don't count on that to be your only way of getting email addresses. You also want to have opt-ins on contact forms. So any contact form that pops up where they fill out, there could be a button with a checkbox. I would like to receive information on specials and offers from Dr. So-and-so or this practice, so that you are doing another way of getting it, getting email addresses. Make it easy for mobile users. Probably more than half your subscribers are likely to be on a mobile device. So you want to make sure that your mobile forms have a place that makes it super easy for them to click and put their email address in. And then cross-promote on your email list on social media. Let your fans know that there's an excellent newsletter so that they can click over and also get on that email list. Now, there's other ways of capturing subscriptions. How about phone calls? How many people call in maybe just getting information about the practice, your location, or even more importantly, procedures and pricing? So we often will be in an office and we'll hear a call that goes something like this: well, how much is liposuction? And the receptionist is definitely handling it as she's been trained, or he's been trained, and they're talking to them about the pricing and however they're supposed to, and that person ends up saying, okay, thank you, and that receptionist ends the call, says, thank you very much, appreciate you calling, and that's it. No consultation was booked, no information was given, it just ended. Well, how much better would that be if that receptionist just said to that person, well, I know you're interested in liposuction and the cost, and that's a concern for you. We do run specials and discounts every once in a while. The doctor will do that, and the only way to get that information of when we're doing those discounts is by our newsletter. Can I take your email address for you, and I'll put you on our email list? You'll get a confirmation email, and then you can unsubscribe at any time. What's your email address that you'd like me to use? Right, so just capturing that call, it all makes sense, very easy to do, and it's very powerful, very good way to collect names. And don't forget the front desk. That same receptionist or whoever is at the front desk and interacting with patients, if they're taking information or talking with them, they can just ask that simple questions. Hey, would you like to know about when the doctor does special events or has special promotions going on? Let me take your email address. Very easy. And, people spend a lot of time in exam rooms. Point-of-sale materials here can really help you collect more emails, get people interested. This one says, anti-aging tips from the pros and skincare savings. Ask the nurse how you can receive these preferred patient benefits. So promote what you're doing with your newsletter. Let people know that it's there. Always build that list. So now you've built your list. You're collecting more names. That's an ongoing process. You really have to train people to do that and get everyone behind it so they know the value of how powerful this can be for their practice. Then you have to make a newsletter. We hear a lot of people complain, oh, it's just too much work to create a newsletter. I have to write things. I don't know what to do. It just takes too much time, and it's too expensive. And we want to say, don't create, curate. If it's too difficult, it's because you're not doing it right. It shouldn't be that much effort, and it doesn't have to be. There's many ways that you can curate content. So you're doing before and after photos, most of you, on a regular basis. Producing new videos, maybe you get some press coverage. Excellent material for a newsletter. And you're writing blog posts, and you probably have a few conversations on social media. Those are other excellent pieces of content that are already created or being created on an ongoing basis that can be pointed to from your newsletter. And if you're doing answers on sites like RealSelf, go ahead and highlight those. Let people know. Maybe they'll go there and leave a review. You might lose them to RealSelf for a while, but if they're looking at your work, that's perfectly acceptable. And if you're doing real patient stories or have new testimonials, all excellent pieces of content that are already being created on your website or other areas that you can use for your newsletter. And now there's another area of free content that you can use. And this is from your partners that produce the products you use and manufacture the devices that are in your office. Some of you might be thinking, oh, I thought duplicate content was bad. I don't want to just copy stuff from them. And that's true in your website. So don't duplicate it on your website, but this is an email. It's not getting indexed by Google. It's not going to affect your rankings. It's just great content that's being produced for you, and absolutely okay to use it in an email. So go ahead and do that. Curate, don't create, much easier, and it's a very engaging newsletter and works super well. So let's move on and talk about best practices when you are doing an email. First of all, you want to use a consistent template. You want the same address to be there in the from address. And the subject line could have a little bit of branding in it, your name, maybe the right, and a little bit of information so that they recognize you right away. Have a consistent layout, consistent visuals, color palette, that kind of thing. And then make sure it's optimized for mobile as well as desktop. You want to make sure that people will see it, because a lot of them are going to be looking at this while they're on the run. People check email from their phones or their tablets. And then make sure the headers and footers have good content in there. We talked a little bit about having your name, address, and phone number in the footer, and there'll be the unsubscribed information on all of those. That should all be very consistent from newsletter to newsletter. Test before you send. Make sure it's readable in multiple email readers, because it may not render the same in Gmail as it does in Hotmail, as it does in Outlook, as it does on a Macintosh. Or you want to make sure it all works well. Check all your links. So if you have a very interesting article or something that's really engaging and people want to click to it and the link breaks and sends them nowhere, it kills the whole experience. So make sure those links are working. Hopefully you have tracking software on your email. If you don't, find a system to use, and then tracking software on your website so that you know how well things are going, your open rates and who's opening what, and you can see how many people are clicking through so that you get a good idea of how well your newsletter is working. And then it's best practice to send midday, Tuesday through Thursday. All right? We just find those are the best times to send it for the maximum opening. Here's a few pitfalls that you want to avoid. Yeah, it takes a little bit of know-how to make sure that the maximum number of emails get through to the people you want to see it. So avoid words that trigger spam. I'll give you a few right now. Words like free, save, help, limited time only. Some plastic surgery terms can trigger filters, breast augmentation, weight loss. So you want to make sure you can actually Google words that trigger spam filters, and you'll come up with a list of 1,000. So go ahead and do that. Make sure you're there. Make sure it's professional. Your word case wants to be accurate. Don't overuse punctuation. No one wants to see 15 exclamation points in a subject line or anywhere else. And make sure you keep those subject lines under 50 characters, or they might get truncated. They'll get shrunk down, and then your message might get distorted. When you're sending your email, consider your goals. You want to have clear calls to actions that send people to the right place to do what you want them to do. So that could be a link to your website or to other information, or a clear button for request a consultation. Whatever it is, make sure that it's very easy and clear, and that those links go to the right place. And then remember to put restrictions on offers. If this is not something you're going to offer, or a special you're doing for a limited time, make sure you put that in the newsletter or on the special offer page on your website or wherever that information is. Because if you don't, many states in the United States, you will have to honor that offer indefinitely, and you may not want to do that. So we're really trying to encourage you to shake things up here. Make email a part of your online marketing mix. We've tried to show you how much more powerful and better reach it has than social media. Really good return on investment for getting a good message out there. So in this Email Marketing Essentials, we've talked about building relationships, driving that demand with email. You got to promote subscription across your entire operation. Really make sure everyone in your practice knows about it and gets behind it. You don't have to create a lot of content. Curate your content. Get selections from around the web. Use fun information and fun stories as well. Really make it easy on you and fun for your readers. And then leverage best practices. Make sure you test and improve the return on investment. If you want to learn more, please subscribe to our newsletter at etnainteractive.com/newsletter. Follow us on Facebook, and you can email me, Al, at etnainteractive.com. I'm happy to answer any questions and help you if I can. And with that, I'm going to say thank you and look for your questions, which you've all been entering on that questions box to the right. And there are some questions coming in, so let me take a look at a couple. Someone has asked, does Constant Contact offer responsive design for emails? I cannot say for sure yes, but I would be surprised if they don't. Constant Contact is a major provider of email services, and they know that mobile is important, and I would be willing to bet that they do indeed do that. Someone has asked, how often is it recommended to send out emails? Is once a week too often? That came from one of our clients, Janelle, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So hello, Janelle. And the answer is it depends on the practice. If you're a med spa and you're doing a lot of specials and promotions, once a week might be totally appropriate. You know, if you're doing facials, and some of you may even have massages offered. So that kind of service you could probably get away with once a week, and it'd be great. On the other hand, if you're a facial plastic surgeon and you're doing bigger procedures that are more expensive, maybe a little less often, once a month, once every 2 months, might be more appropriate. Again, it really depends on your practice. Someone has asked, can you tell me again how to document and opt in on email subscribers? Okay, so any major service will have this functionality for you, and what you want to do is make sure that you're sending out an email before a newsletter goes out to them that asks them to reconfirm, to say, yes, I want to be on your email list by clicking here. That takes them to the website where they click on the subscriber service, the email service that you use, and it lets us know that they have actually clicked and said yes, and then it's documented. You have that to prove that they did indeed subscribe. Is there some place to find spam filter words? Absolutely Google. Google's your best bet there. Just Google words that trigger spam filters, and you'll get a nice list there, probably more than you need, but it's a good place to go. One person asked, can I tell if someone is Canadian? And the answer is no, it's really hard. So we were talking about CASL, the new Canadian anti-spam law. And it's very difficult to know if they're on Gmail or Yahoo Mail or any of the major mail services, because you don't get region-specific or geographic-specific information from that. Some email addresses that might have a .ca for Canada would likely be a Canadian email address, but it's hard to tell, so just assume that you have email users in Canada, and that way you'll be safe. Let's see one other question. We have both cosmetic and reconstructive patients. I do not want to keep 2 separate email lists, but sometimes I get patients who would prefer to not get one or the other. Do you see issues with this, or do you recommend I keep separate lists? I think the idea of keeping 2 separate lists sounds like more work to me, and then you're trying to do 2 different newsletters. One of the things that we see a lot is that reconstructive patients often come back and become cosmetic patients, and the majority of them, if they're willing to sign up for a list, are willing to get information on both sides of the practice. So my advice would be to go ahead and send the list to everyone, and then just be sensitive, and of course provide unsubscription options to make it easy for them if they decide that they really didn't want the other side that they weren't interested in. Any other questions? I don't see any other coming in right now. Here's one last one. I understand that email marketing has a greater reach than social media. However, how do you feel about practices engaging in direct mail campaigns? I've heard the open rate is as high as 75% versus that 20+% for email. Are you seeing any? So that is a great question. We definitely are in favor of practices doing some direct mail. It's a largely different prospect than using email. It's more expensive. You have to get things printed up, and then there's the postage. And so you want to be very specific in the campaigns you use, and use different campaigns from email than you do for direct mail. making sure you can retract your ROI. Most practices do a little bit more general in their direct mail, so they're covering more markets because of that expense. But make them separate again so that you can tell the specials that are coming in from direct versus your email marketing, and you can track your ROI. It's all good if you can get both those done in a year. Maybe do once or twice a year direct mail and once a month on your email. You'd really be covering some ground and doing some good marketing. Okay, one more question just popped in. Are you seeing anyone use video in the email marketing? Is this a good idea? Absolutely, it's a good idea. Video is very engaging. It's a great way to tell a story. There's lots of good video content out there you could use. Ideally, you would embed that video in your website rather than your YouTube channel. So when the link takes them to the video, they're on your website where you can get their interest and hopefully capture their interest in coming in for a consultation. Okay, there's no more questions coming in at this time. So I want to thank you very much. Again, thank you, Analtis and Zubin, for having us. And until next time, happy marketing, and we will talk to you then.